Hello and welcome to Video Revealed. I'm Colin Smith. I'm on location, and that's the best way to show Adobe Capture. All right, this might be a little bit less polished than what you're normally used to with me in my studio with everything tested out. I wanted to be on location because Capture is a mobile application. And although I could take a bunch of pictures and then show it later on, I think it's much more interesting to show how I'm grabbing stuff live right here in the field. So I'm using my Galaxy phone. I'm connected through something called Samsung Flow, which will mirror my phone on my computer completely, so you can see it a lot easier. I'm going to go through all the different types of captures that you can do, and then we'll see how we can use this in other Adobe applications. All right, so let's start by opening up Capture. And the very first thing you see is all of the libraries that you can use. And I've created one just called Capture Assets, and I've already captured a couple of themes. Down at the bottom, I can choose photos, or I can choose the actual camera. So now I'm going to click on the camera. This will now launch me into the application, and I'm going to start with the first one, which is materials. And with materials, you're creating physical-based materials. So if I wanted to use this in Adobe Dimensions, which is a 3D application, this would be creating this material that I could use in 3D. So you hold it up to whatever shape, whatever material you want, and click the button to capture that. And now I've got this 3D material, and you can see I could even move this around. I can change things like the roughness and the detail, and whether things are shiny, what's the intensity. You can also see it on different shapes. So if that first shape doesn't help you understand what that material is, then you can go through all these different shapes. So that's definitely has limited use in all Adobe applications, because it really is Adobe Dimensions, and Adobe Dimensions is for creating 3D objects for designers, but you could export that out as an image and use that elsewhere, even in something like Premiere Pro. All right, let's go back out and up to the next one, which is type. What type is going to do is look at type, an image of type, and try to find the font. So I've got two examples here that are one is hard and one is easy. So the first one is just a government envelope, and let me just set this up. And what you do is you set the line of type right above it and tap OK, and now it's going to find this typeface. And you can see for something simple like this, it did a very good job. So it's telling me what this typeface is, and that I could use this right away. And I could change what the words say, so I could use an example. If you're trying to match one of your own words, instead of the word that it captured, it could be your own word. And just like I said, things are a little unrefined out here. We're going to have to wait for the train to go by. Trains are very close. You know? Okay. And in the edit, you can see I can change the size, and I could mess around with that. But let's go back and try that again. And this time I'm going to create, this time I'll capture type from the movie Stand By Me. So let's see if it can recognize what that is. So sometimes it does not get it perfect, so you have to help it. I'll resize that and hit OK. And you can see it's way far off. There's a good chance that this typeface is not a licensed available typeface that you can use. So this is within the Adobe font family that it found. So sometimes it's going to work, sometimes not. I don't think any of these are close at all, but you can see two examples, one difficult and one pretty easy. Okay, so let's go over to shapes. All right, so for this example, I'm going to capture my wife's sandals. And you can see it did a really good job, nice and clean. There's a little bit of problem up in there, so I'll grab the eraser and erase that portion up there. So I don't want that. All right, that looks good. You can smooth it or just go right to the next step and save that as a new, and it's an SVG shape. So I'll call this sandals. And I'm saving it into Capture Assets. I could save this into any of my libraries. All right, so that's a vector shape now in my library. And what I did was I just used a piece of foam core. So this is just, whoops, this is just white foam core instead of doing it on the wooden deck, which would be a little bit harder to see. And for another example, I'm just using an envelope. And let's do a pair of sunglasses. Same idea. I want to try to capture them without anything other than the white. So it's going to be easier to go to the crop mode and crop that out. So now I've got some sunglasses. And again, saving these in the capture asset. So now I've got two of these shapes, and those shapes can be used in Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign. We can even drag them into the timeline in Premiere Pro. Okay, next up is colors. And here's one of the main reasons I want it to be outside is because I wanted to use my wife's beautiful flowers as an example. So as I'm holding it over this, you can see it is finding the complementary colors. And now I've captured that as a group of swatches, and I could even change the harmony. So I could change this particular one to something completely different if I wanted. So let's leave it like that. There's my new color theme. And I can also publish this to color.adobe.com. I've got a full tutorial on working with color in Adobe applications and on color.adobe.com. I'm not going to save that there. I'm just going to leave that, save that. So now this is a color swatch that I can use in a number of applications. You can't use this in Premiere Pro, but if you capture the swatch as an image, then you can. Okay. In the color section, if you click up here and then click in the gradient, you can capture a gradient. So you can select where that gradient starts and stops. So it doesn't have to be linear at all. We want to get that red, so we could save this as a gradient. You can adjust the location of midpoints of the gradient. You can pinch in or out your gradients to adjust the number of colors. So just yet another way that you can create and add gradients. So let's go to looks. And these are looks that you would use in something like Premiere Pro, After Effects, and Photoshop. Okay, let me try to go to the sky, flowers, and I'm saving that as a look. So a look is going to capture color and light and allow me to apply that to an image in Photoshop or an image or video in Premiere Pro or After Effects. What's a little bit different here is that there's a primary color, and you can see that illustrated down here. That blue is the first blue, and you can see there's quite a few colors that were captured. This is a sample image, and it's showing me at 100%, which is the middle value. I could add another image in here as a preview, but this is telling me what it will look like against all of these different skin tones and a fairly neutral background. So instead of using that one as my primary, I could switch to something else like this, like that. And if I drag this over, we can go to some of the other ones in here, which are using different parts of what was captured here. Oh, I like that one. That one's good. So I'll go to the next step and we'll save it. So this is, let's call this backyard. I think capturing looks is one of the most powerful parts of capture because you could be on location and capturing the looks of things and then use that later, or a completely different location and use that in your file. You can also bring in your favorite movies and you can capture those. So instead of the camera, if I go to my gallery, my camera roll, let's say, let's go to The Wizard of Oz. So I've now captured The Wizard of Oz as a lookup table, a LUT or a look to use in my video. So I'm just going to leave it on the first one. And I'll call this one Oz. Okay, so that's saving looks or LUTs that we can use. Like I said, you can use those in Photoshop and After Effects and Premiere Pro. The next one is patterns. And boy, oh boy, this is really trippy. You can see all the different patterns that you can use in Photoshop and Illustrator as a fill. And if we go back over to the flowers, we can see how that crazy looks, how crazy that looks. So let's capture one of these. And you can change a little bit of what's cropped in here. You can change the rotation and save that out as a pattern. And it saves it as an image file, PNG, Portable Network Graphics file. So now I'm just looking at the surface of the deck, getting a completely different look. And we've saved another one. So pretty cool. All right, let's look at brushes. You can use brushes with Photoshop, Illustrator, and Adobe Sketch. It's supposed to use these in Photoshop as raster brushes, but I wasn't able to get this in here. But I'll show you Sketch in a second. So let's go back to the sandals here. And what's happening is that the sandals, I want the sandals to look like they're walking along. So they're the wrong way. I need to turn these. So I'm just using my fingers and turning these. And now you can see they're going that right way, and you can get rid of that and you can test that. You can change the size, the flow, whether it's color or black and white, whether it's linear or mirrored or stretched. So I could stretch these shoes, but I'm going to leave it as linear. You can change, again, the overall size. You can add noise and anti-alias these. We can refine these a bit. So I'm getting rid of the background. So now it's just the shoes, a little bit more of getting rid of that. So there we go. Next up, just leave this as brush one. And you can see it's telling me this is for Adobe Sketch. So I'll jump over to Sketch. And I actually saved these already over here, but the way you would get to them is by selecting the plus, import from capture or import from assets. So I've already got these here, and you can see I can walk around. Now this is an image, so I would have to save this to a gallery. I could publish this, save this as a PSD to Creative Cloud, send it to Photoshop or Illustrator, or share with another applications. So that is now sent to Creative Cloud. Now, one other example I wanted to show you is stretching. So for this, I'm going to use the image of a straw and tighten that up around the straw. And you have to be really careful. There we go. So let me make the size a little bit smaller. So now I could have a straw so I could draw that as a straw. Now, you can also, when you are working on your, you can go to the top and you can actually change saturation, brightness, exposure. So if you're trying to capture something and your phone in the environment that's in is not bright enough, you can brighten things up with exposure before you capture instead of having to edit it. So you can see there's everything that I've captured. There's the two brushes, the patterns, the looks that I captured. There's the glasses, sandals, and the color theme that I chose. So I'll go to my libraries in Photoshop. I'll go to Capture Assets. Everything syncs. You can see there's the glasses that we used. There's the sandals. Patterns, that's that background pattern that I used. And the lookup tables. And there are the color themes. So that was the theme from the flowers over here. And if I want to get that theme, if I want to use those swatches, that color theme in Premiere Pro, I have to turn it into an image. So I'm just going to use a screen capture program that I use called PicPic. There's built-in screen capture in both Mac and Windows. So I'm going to create a new file just out of the clipboard. And with this button here, I'll add that graphic. So this is now a graphic. It's not swatches. But let me show you what that looks like in Premiere Pro. All right, here I am in Premiere Pro, and in my libraries, I'm in my capture assets. You can see there's the screen capture of the theme, because if we go down here, you'll see color themes are not compatible, but a screenshot of a color theme is. There's the glasses, the sandals, and our look. So if I wanted to, I could just grab the glasses and drop them on. And you'll see the immediate problem that we have. A white background gets added, and Premiere Pro converts this from an SVG file to a PNG file, which PNG files are transparent, but you can see this is not transparent. So if you want to, you could go to the effects controls, opacity, and change that to a multiply. And this kind of looks transparent, but it's not the best way to work. I think because this is a vector graphic, let me just delete that out of there. I think the best way to work to take this SVG file and bring it in as an Illustrator file. So we'll have a little stop over in Adobe Illustrator. Don't be afraid of Illustrator. I'll show you how simple it is. Let's go to Illustrator. In the File menu, create a new document. Choose the Film and Video and the 1080p, click OK, and it creates the right size document for us. It shows a transparent background, which you can turn that on and off in the View menu, Hide Transparency Grid. If we go to the libraries, we'll see the color themes this time are available, and there's our graphics. So I'll drag in the glasses, and when you drag it in, you'll get a little handle, and you need to drag how big you want that. So I'm going to drag that very big because I'll resize that in Premiere Pro. With the glasses still selected, I can now choose the color theme. So if I wanted to choose a different color, I click over here and I've got those different colors. File, save, and just save this as an Illustrator file, a .ai file. Click Save. OK. It's that easy. We'll do the same thing again. Create a new document. It's already set at HDV. It remembered that for us. This time I'll drag the sandals out. Click and drag that. Shift drag to make it constrain. How about red? File, save. The same thing. We'll just leave it as an Illustrator file. Okay, so that wasn't hard, was it? Let's go back to Premiere Pro, back to our project, and you can choose File Import. You can also double click in an empty area in the project bin. And I'll select both the glasses and the sandals, open them up, and they import as Illustrator files. And it's always a good idea to keep these as large as possible. That way, they're not going to be pixelated. So there's each one of our files. I'll drag them in. I've got a little animated title here, which is just a little bit of a, I've got a crop on the title, and a little bit of an animation, which is just an adjustment layer that's changing the scale and adding a blur and contrast. I'll drag the sandals in. Now you can see they show up and they're transparent and they're vector. And in the effects controls, I'll scale these down. I could double click in here and move these if I want. Same thing with the glasses. I'll drag those in too. Just drop both of those in the middle. So that's where the title will start. So I will select a position keyframe for each one of those. We'll move to this point here where the title opens up, and I'll just change the position of each one of those. So I'll stick the glasses over there. You see it adds another keyframe. Same with the sandals. I'll drag that over to there. So now we've got our title opening up and our two graphics. And the last thing I'll show you is why I saved my library theme as an image, again, because I can't use the themes. But if I wanted to change the color of the type, I can twirl that down, and there's an eyedropper, and I could pick any of the colors in that color theme. How about that? Red seems to be good. And now with a little bit of Artlist music and Adobe stock video and Adobe Capture, we've now put together our little show opening. There you go. Pretty cool. You gotta remember that those glasses and those sandals were real items just a few moments ago. Oh yeah, and the last thing I want to show you is the looks that we had. Remember, this is the look that I captured in the backyard. I'll drag that onto here, and it has that look, and you can see in the effects controls, it added the Lumetri effect. But let's go for the Wizard of Oz look, and it replaces that. And then now we've got our very colorful summer fun video complete. So I think there's still room for improvement in Capture, but it is a great application on your phone when you're mobile and you need to make changes and pick some stuff up, pick some colors up, pick some looks and styles and shapes, and have some fun with it and see where you go with it. All right, if you're new to Video Revealed and you found this informative, take a moment and subscribe. If you want to support us more, you can do that like our wonderful PayPal donors. Thank you so much to everyone that supports Video Revealed. Till next time, I'm Colin Smith, and it's my job to get out here on location and start capturing all the beautiful things around us.